Hello and welcome to this episode of the Spiced In Podcast. My name is Jacob and I'm your host as we talk about some pretty amazing Star Wars news this week. I was supposed to talk about Master and Apprentice by Claudia Gray this week, but I'm about 100 pages short of finishing my week. My actual week was a little off, not exactly what I expected. So my reading schedule got thrown, and if I wanted to finish it, I probably would have been staying up till like 1 a.m. last night, and I just didn't want to rush it. So besides, I have enough to talk about that could make its own episode, because today we're talking about Star Wars Squadrons. So everything else has basically just been pushed back a week. So next week will be Master and Apprentice. I'll obviously have no problem finishing that now. And then the week after that, Disney Gallery episodes 7 and 8, and then so on and so forth. So, not too much Star Wars news going on right now. Something minor related to Star Wars. It'll be over by the time you hear this. But there was a nice book sale going on both Target and Amazon had identical sales basically, where it was buy two get one free for books. So I bought a few books off of Amazon. I bought like 4 books on Amazon. And then I saw someone post the Target saying, I'm like, well, I don't need any more right now. I already have like probably like 4 or 5 books on my shelf that I need to read. So there's no point in me buying more, even though I kind of wanted to. So I got a few. I got 3 from the sale, and I threw another one in. So I got Catalyst, which is the Rogue One prequel novel. I got Twilight Company, which is the Battlefront 1 book, and then Leia, Princess of Alderaan. And lastly, in addition, I also got Queen's Peril, since we did Queen's Shadow, I think, 2 weeks ago now? A week ago? But anyways, this is the next book by E.K. Johnston, focusing on Padme. So, and it came out, I think, the very beginning, like, maybe the 3rd of the month. So, figured I'd pick that up. Stay somewhat current, even though I still have a lot of back catalog I need to get through. So, those we'll talk about them at some point. It might just be a while. Queen's Peril is probably the one that's coming soonest. We also had, I think, Alphabet Squadron, not Alphabet Squadron, the sequel to Alphabet Squadron, Shadowfall, I believe was released last week. It's basically within the week of you hearing this. This book will have come out by Alexander Freed. I definitely still need to read Alphabet Squadron. I've heard great things about it. And then, Shadowfall will come after that at some point. There are so many books to read, so little time. But anyways, so we have to talk about the big and really only Star Wars news of the week, which is Star Wars Celebration being canceled. So it was slated for fall 2019 or 2020 in Anaheim, and it was really a matter of when they were going to pull the plug and not if. So it is officially canceled now. Big bummer, but you gotta do it. So the fans who purchased the tickets have a few different options as far as what they want to do next. You can either transfer your tickets to the next celebration. You can use the price of the tickets basically to, turn it in to buy merch, or you can just straight get a refund on your ticket. So the next celebration will be in 2022 in Anaheim. I would love to be there, but we'll see. Money or time shouldn't be an issue at that point for me. It's really if everyone from 2020 transfers their tickets to 2022, it might be pretty hard to get passes. So we'll see. Hopefully I will be reporting from Celebration in 2 years. But if not, it's all good. But yeah, that's all we had for news today, or this week, really. The next big news we gotta talk about is, the main topic for our show this week, and that is Star Wars Squadrons. So we hinted at it last week, and we hinted at it months ago when we found out about Project Maverick, but the game is officially fully announced now. Star Wars Squadrons, the really spiritual successor to the X-Wing TIE Fighter games, a full-on space combat game that is pretty much all I've wanted. I played Elite Dangerous for a little bit. Let me see on that. It looks like I got like 60 hours in Elite Dangerous, which is to say I have no idea what I'm doing in that game. It is a insane skill curve, or a learning curve for that. And I don't have time to play it anymore with the dog. So this is going to really hopefully scratch that itch for me. So we got the cinematic trailer on Monday, which, it starts with a dogfight in the asteroid belt between an X-Wing and a TIE Interceptor. And after that ends, we see some briefings in some command rooms on both sides of the conflict. We have the rebellion with General Harrison Dula, and we have an Empire briefing. They specifically after that mentioned the New Republic, so we're definitely post Endor. Then Wedge flies by in his ship. That's pretty sweet. And the announcer kind of tells us it's a 5v5 based game, and the release date is October 2nd, 2020. So only, just around 3 months from now, pretty much, by the time you hear this. A little bit over. So we had that. And then on Thursday, we had EA Play, which is kind of like their E3 type deal. And it was, they talked about all their FIFA and Madden and all that stuff. But they also talked about Star Wars Squadrons. Really, the only reason I watched I didn't watch the whole press conference. I got to the Star Wars stuff and then stopped. We got the gameplay trailer as well as a short conversation with one of the lead developers over at Motive. He was telling the interviewer, Greg Miller, about how they're all just kind of big fans of Star Wars. The guy himself showed some pictures when he was a kid. He had paused the game in the old X-Wing series and would draw out and crown the cockpits, and he was able to find these old pictures and show them up on the stream. But the whole team, they all worked on Battlefront 2, and when that ended, they all kind of came together to make this passion project. We got to see some concept art while he was talking. Most of it was kind of environment, maps, and everything like that. But there was one specific one I want to point out. There's one, it had a pilot in the top left corner and then a bunch of ship blueprints around it. But there were two ships in particular that were a big deal that were in there. There was the B-Wing and the Millennium Falcon. And I'll get to why that's important later. But you save that in the back of your mind. But they said they were inspired by the spiritual core of the Star Wars games of the past. They directly mentioned how this game's going to have a high skill ceiling. It's not just going to be I like Battlefront 2 and I like the Starfighter mode, but it really was, I don't know, it was point and click with a ship. It just didn't feel right. I think the third person definitely had something to do with it, but I didn't really get immersed by that game, and especially there's no joystick support, so I really couldn't. There was no option, especially playing on PC. I guess I could put in an Xbox controller, but I don't want to do that. So there's going to be a high skill ceiling, which is great. They also talked about how you're going to be able to balance your energy between shields, engines, and weapons, and you can even redirect your shield. So if you were being chased by someone, you could put your shields targeted in the back to help deflect from their shots. And they even talked about how you can do that sweet Poe Dameron drift move from the very beginning of The Last Jedi. He's you can cut your engines, do a roll and flip around, and while you're drifting backwards, shoot a rocket out of your tail. I was it sounds really cool, the amount of things you can do. But the game has a single player campaign, which is after Endor. And we later found out, so it's between Endor and Jakku. And you play both a New Republic and Imperial pilot that you create yourself. So I kind of got the vibes of Halo, I think Halo 5's campaign, if you played that, where you bounce between Locke and Master Chief as two opposing forces, but then also kind of Halo Reach's campaign, where you had Noble Six, a character you created yourself that fit in with a team dynamic. So I think it kind of a blend of those two in its ideation. But there's also multiplayer modes that support crossplay. That'll be big. Battlefront 2 did not have that, so you'll now be able to play PC, PS4, and Xbox One all together. And there's also VR support. That's going to be huge. So Xbox One obviously doesn't have VR right now, or will not ever. So PC and PSVR are going to be supported. Then we got the gameplay trailer. It looks incredible. We found out the Vanguard Squadron are the squadron for the New Republic, and Titan Squadron is the Imperial Squadron. There's no real HUD, so you don't have your shield bar in the bottom left hand corner or whatever. It's all in the instruments on the physical ship. So instead of that shield bar that's in the bottom left, you have it on your instrument panel. Another cool thing, we saw Rey Sloane make an appearance. She's the Grand Admiral from the Aftermath trilogy. And we get 8 ships that we get to pilot. The X-Wing, Y-Wing, A-Wing, and U-Wing. And then TIE Fighter, TIE Bomber, TIE Reaper, and TIE Interceptor. So like I said earlier, we saw the B-Wing and the Millennium Falcon in the blueprint concept art. But those are not in the game, from what we can tell. We've been told these are the only ships right now. I can't find anything saying there's been word that there aren't going to be ships added in the future, but right now it doesn't appear that there are any like hero ships like there would be like in Battlefront, and no other thing. It's a 5v5, but you have these 4 ships to choose from. So they have different basically class structures. Like the X-Wing and the TIE Fighter are your like all-around ships. The Y-Wing and Interceptor are very fast, low durability, but they pack a punch. Then you have the Y-Wing and the TIE Bomber. They are very slow, have a decent amount of health, and do a ton of damage. And then the U-Wing and the Reaper are your support classes. They have lots of health, are slow, but they don't really focus as much as on traditional damage. They have like EMPs or tractor beams or stuff like that to interfere with the other ships. So I'm not sure if it's going to have a base loadout that you have to, or if you can mix and match. Like the New Republic Squadron was always showed with 2 X-Wings, a Y-Wing, an A-Wing, and a U-Wing. I don't know if that's the default that you have to stick to, or if your team wanted to do like 4 X-Wings and a U-Wing, if they could do that. But then there's also customization options, like basically different paint jobs for your ships, and also you have different loadout options. So you could change up your missiles or something like that. And it's all progression based. There's no microtransactions whatsoever, which is a great thing that they learned their lesson from Battlefront 2. As far as game modes you go, you have the dogfight mode, which is basically a 5v5 team deathmatch that heavily focuses on teamwork. And then the big main mode is the fleet battles, which is a multi-stage match. You can play against others or just with AI, which I think is a great addition. So you start in like a social hub, basically on the briefing room of the capital ship to get your strategy going. Then you deploy to a 5v, or I don't know if it's a 5v5. I think it makes sense to have more ships. But it's a dogfight in the center of the map. And then from there, you either fall back or advance. Each team has 2 medium-sized capital ships, so they battle around those. And if they fall, you fall back to the large capital ship, flagship, and it's the same there. So, multi-stage match, and it looks really cool. It has a really grand scale to it that I'm excited to play. But that's it for the gameplay trailer. This is super hype. A few other things I wanted to note. HOTAS is supported, so that's hands-on throttle and stick, so you can get a joystick going. I'm thinking about writing an article or something, and I'll link to that on Instagram or Twitter if I end up doing it, about just peripherals. We don't know what all supported, but personally I use the T16000, which are the Thrustmaster joysticks. I did a HOSAS setup, which is hands-on stick and stick for Elite Dangerous, and I also had pedals. I don't think that's going to be I would not recommend it for this game. I think the 6-axis control is not worth it. I don't even know if it'll be really supported. It's going to be more like planes in space. So I think the optimal way, you could probably get away with just a joystick, but I think a joystick and a thruster or a throttle are the best ways to play it. So Thrustmaster, I think, is a good balance for like a decent price point, but with quality. I really like joysticks. I haven't played with a throttle, but I'll probably get one. But then for VR, so for PlayStation, it's easy. If you want to play with VR, you gotta get PSVR, that's it. For Xbox, it's easy. You don't have a choice. With PC, that's where it gets interesting. I'm gonna wait. Like, I don't know for sure if I'm gonna purchase one to start with, but if I do get one, I'm gonna wait a little bit. I want to make sure we get the official announcement of what's gonna be supported as far as headset wise. I'm really scared they could, because ILM X Lab, for all the Vader Immortal series, have been Oculus only. So if they decide to go with that, we might have a problem. Although it's an EA game, and I don't think ILM X Lab games are produced by EA, so it could be different. But I'm currently leaning with the Samsung Odyssey Plus. It's I think it's around like $450 maybe, but it is often on sale for under $300. I'm just gonna keep an eye on that. It's not your Oculus, it's not your Index or Vive, but if you're not into like your Beat Sabers, your traditional type VR gaming, I think it's gonna be a pretty solid choice. It does have like controllers, but if you're not into all that other stuff, I think just for just a screen with head tracking, I think the Odyssey Plus might be a really solid option. But anyways, not to go off on too much of a tangent, we also found out the maps. We have 6 maps they've announced. It's Yavin Prime, so it's the gas giant in the Yavin system. We have Asiles, which is an Imperial listing post posted up inside like an ice ring of a planet. Then you have the Nadiri dockyards, which is where they build the Starhawk ships. You have Sasubo, a planet in the Chandrilla system with the remnants of salvaged Imperial ships. And Chandrilla is the homeworld of Mon Mothma. Then you have Galaton, which is a shattered molten moon that looks super cool. And then I think the map that looks the coolest to me is the Zavian Abyss, which is a hazardous area in the expansion region of the galaxy. So that looks really sweet. I don't know if they're going to have more. I think it would make sense for them to maybe add a few later in the game. But I don't expect it to be like a live service type, like Apex, Fortnite thing with constant updates. There are a few pre-order bonuses. I went ahead and pre-ordered this game because I know I want it. But it's nice because I don't think the pre-order bonuses are that great. They're just different vehicle skins for all the ships. It's like a yellow stripe down the side of, or maybe it's a blue stripe. I think it's like a light blue stripe down the side of all the New Republic ships and a yellow stripe, I believe, down the side of all the Imperial ships. I think they honestly look like crap. So don't worry about missing out on something great. You're not getting like the rarest, most epic skin if you pre-order. You're just getting kind of some average looking ones. So I don't think you need to have that sense of FOMO on this one. But on the topic of pre-orders, it is $40 only. So it's nice that it doesn't cost full $60, but it also might give you some idea on the probably brevity of the campaign. I doubt it's more than 6 hours long, 8 tops. And then kind of what you're going to see as far as support after the game's release. So keep that in mind. I am really excited to play this game, to say the least. If you are too, and I hope you are, there's a few things I would say to look into if you're trying to just get more hyped for it. To learn a little bit more about that era of the Star Wars timeline, I would definitely recommend reading the Aftermath trilogy. It takes place entirely between Endor and the Battle of Jakku, and it really paints the picture for the state of the galaxy at that point, with the rebellion kind of transforming into the New Republic, and the Empire on its last legs in the galaxy, just trying to survive and claw into whatever power that they held. You also, I mentioned earlier, Rey Sloane. That's pretty much, those 3 books are the only books where she's really heavily featured, so you can get an idea for her character as well. So I think those would be really good. I will say the first Aftermath book, not the best, but I think the second 2 are really solid. So I would definitely recommend those if you're trying to get more in the feel of it. And I also mentioned it earlier, I believe, Alphabet Squadron, all about starfighters and pilots. I think it's another great book as far as canon to get you in the mood for that. Like I said earlier, we have until August 2nd, so just over 3 months at this point. I am very excited, and it will be available on on Origin, Steam, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One. No announcements as far as next-gen consoles, but I would be shocked to find them not coming out to the next-gen. On Xbox, at least, you can also expect smart delivery, I believe, between the generations, so you can buy it for Xbox One and not worry about having to buy it again for the, what is it even called? Xbox Series X, I believe. I don't really follow consoles anymore, besides the PS5 memes at this point. So, yeah, I think that's all I got to say. Yeah, definitely check out Master and Apprentice coming up next week. And, yeah, if you like what you heard, you can follow me on Instagram or Twitter at SpicedInPod. I'm always open for discussion on Star Wars. I'm also on YouTube at The Spiced In, where you can now watch/listen to the podcast. It's not a video podcast, so really just listen to the podcast there if you don't really prefer Spotify or iTunes or Google Play. If you really like what I do, you can find me on Patreon and support me there. I appreciate it if you feel so obliged. And you know what? As always, thanks to Gramble for providing the music, and may the Force be with you.